Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Marianne.
And this is Janice.
And we are here to record our 100th episode.
Welcome to the Sustainable Living Podcast. Tips, tools, and tactics for living a heart-centered life that honors Mother Earth and her inhabitants. The information shared on the Sustainable Living Podcast reflects the opinions of host Marianne West, Janice Fryatt, and their guests. Please use your own discretion in research before applying any information to your individual situation. Now, here are your hosts, Marianne and Janice.
Okay. So now that we know the record button is on, 100 episodes.
This is so amazing.
Yes. 2 years ago, Mariana and I met on a now defunct platform called Sue, TSU. And we found that we had a lot of things in common. And we were posting a lot of the same information. And I don't know who did it, but one of us sent a note out saying, hey, we should talk a little bit more.
You first contacted me and sent a note saying hi. And so we started to, have a little side conversation going besides just obvious public whatever social media thing.
Yeah.
And then I was on a show with my sister. She's doing a Google Hangout show.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so much fun. And I said, I really want to co-host. So I sent a note to Janice saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing a podcast and a Google Hangout. Would you like to do it with me? And she is...
Well, I couldn't believe it because I was thinking along the same lines. I had been wanting, ever since I moved here, to start some kind of a podcast or something, YouTube channel possibly, I don't know, about my homesteading experience. And here was someone I could learn from because I remember seeing on Sue, you posting about your permaculture designs that you were doing in your backyard with the swale, and also you did some hugelkultur, and I was just blown away. I wanted to learn all that. So, and then when we started talking, we found we had even more in common.
I know, this was amazing. So both of us are moms, and well, I'm a grandma. Janice is not because she's young.
Not that much younger.
And, before I go on, I want to say something really quick. So for you guys which are on the podcast, we are actually recording live and we are outside and we have one microphone between the two of us and no headphones. So maybe our sound is not that great, but this is, our party. This is our 100th episode, and we do what we want to, right?
It's our party, and we'll have bad sound if we want to. Okay?
Exactly. And then we get better again. We promise. We promise. And then we are also streaming this live on Facebook right now, and we're going to put it on YouTube. So we might say something about our looks you cannot hear on the podcast. So just that my hair is standing up straight. And those of you who see me can understand why I need short hair, because I don't have hair talent.
You have hair like my husband. It just goes everywhere. It has a life of its own.
Yeah, so back to our similarities. So we both are moms, and we both got very interested in health and so forth in regards to our children, and we're big breastfeeding advocates. And so it turns out we both were.
We were both La Leche League leaders. There's so many things that we found that we had in common. It was just insane. And we just decided, heck, it's meant to be,
Right. So it's kismet, right?
Yes.
And we have managed to stick it out for over 2 years now. We had a little break in between because in the beginning, Janice did everything. I just went blah, 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 blah. And
now Marianne is teaching me stuff. I mean, you want to talk about a go-getter. Gosh. She's signed up for all kinds of online courses, and honestly, she's truly giving me social media marketing tips these days. So,
and Janice is a social media marketer.
Yes, which makes that even more big.
No, but we came together over this weekend because we wanted to work on our podcast and talk about it. And hey, people, so about 2 years ago, I think we put a little sign up on our podcasting page, on our webpage, which is sustainablelivingpodcast.com, where you can sign up for an email thingy. You know, you give us your email address, and guess what?
We did nothing with it. I know, but we're changing that.
Yeah, we're changing our evil ways.
Yes.
So this weekend we came together and we figured out how to do this. Mm-hmm. So hopefully by the next week or so we have done what we want to tell you, like the big apology about, we were absent for 2 years. Yes. And now you will hear from us.
Yes, and you will hear. We want to make it personal. We want to make it part of just making it more intimate so we can really get to know you guys and share what you're doing and have more of an interaction. And that's what we really want to use that newsletter for. So if you see something in your inbox that says Sustainable Living Podcast Tribe, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's you. That's you all.
Yep,
so we all just decided you're part of our tribe.
Yep.
Our friends.
Yes.
And you are. I totally want to give a shout out to everybody who is consistently listening to us, because we are just really blown away and thankful and grateful that you spend that time, an hour or half an hour, and sometimes it's more. Sometimes we just get deep into conversation with people and it happens to be an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And you're listening, and thank you so much for it. And we truly hope that, that we give you something you can use.
And we want to thank you for all that you've given us, in addition to just listening to us, but sharing your tips on our Facebook group, the Sustainable Living Tips, Tools, and Tactics, and also on Instagram. We take those things seriously, and we keep a running spreadsheet of them, and we're going to be sharing them beginning
right now. So I have you going, and actually if you're on seeing us live, I have to do a little glasses change here because I'm blind as a bat without, and I can't read with my regular glasses. So we started to do a little One Tip Monday, where we just posted and asked, hey, people, what is your tip? What's your tip of the week? Give us some ideas. And so I want to give a shout out to an Instagram friend of ours, and her name is Carrie. She has the handle Blue Dragonfly 15. Oh, if you're watching, you see like a tail going up behind us. This is Rocky.
It's Chucky.
Oh, Chucky. Why do I call him Rocky? I don't know. His name is Chucky, and he's one of our podcasting partners.
Yes.
And you might hear him say wow, wow, wow. Or
yes, because he's guarding the chicken coop over there against the squirrels. So
yeah, and that's an important job.
Huge.
And he's taking it serious.
Huge.
Yeah. So back to our Instagram friends. So Carrie, her handle is Blue Dragonfly 15. And her tip is that when you're out running errands for the day, bring a reusable water bottle along filled with your favorite drink. That way, you're not tempted to stop and buy a soda or coffee or something else, which will come in a disposable form. Plus, you save money at the same time because, even if you buy water, a bottle of water is like $2, right? And you can fill it up at home for basically free.
Yeah, and you're not contributing to the plastic in all the landfill and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Water bottles, those plastic water bottles.
I know, that's something else. Yeah. I mean, there's some tips we had on our group where somebody showed like a picture of a greenhouse, which was actually done all with plastic bottles. Mm-hmm. So there's ways we can reuse them, but it's really better to not even use them at all.
Yep.
And just another shout out right now is, So we, just a few weeks ago, had an interview with Lindsay McCoy. And she is from Plain Products, and she is an environmental educator. So the company she's running. It's shampoo and conditioner.
Keep talking. I'll be
okay, I keep talking. It's shampoo and conditioner and body wash, and it comes in refillable bottles. And so you get them delivered to your house, and then once you're done with them and you get your next delivery, you send the empty bottles back and they get refilled. And she was sweet enough to send both of us a package. And Janice ran to get them. So if you happen to be on Facebook or YouTube, you can see the bottle.
I was so excited to get this. So the package came with shampoo, body wash, and conditioner. And they're all in these wonderful, is this steel?
It's aluminum.
Aluminum. And it's like, this is going to last forever. And they allow you to send it back so you can just get it refilled and you don't have to contribute to the landfill anymore.
Right. And so we wanted to mention her because we want to thank her. So thank you, Lindsay. That was super sweet, and we appreciate it. And now, as my friend Stephanie McCoy, another McCoy, I'm surrounded by McCoys, mentioned or maybe it was Claudia, one of the two was saying, finally you take a shower. You once in your showers and you smell good again. So Janice is not complaining about me smelling. So we're doing good.
Yeah.
No, I do wash on a regular basis.
Of course she does.
Just saying.
No,
You know.
I just wanted to say I was so excited about this. I just think this is such a brilliant idea. And I've been looking for something like this for years. So yay. Was it Lindsay?
Lindsay,
rock.
Yes. And so 2 things about it. For one, she was saying she would love to see other companies do the same thing. Mm-hmm. And I would think if you, somebody who does, creams or anything which is kind of in a liquid form, she probably would be even open to give you hints. Because in our conversation, she was said, just figuring out the how-tos to do this was not easy. So they went through quite a bit of a research phase to figure out how to do that. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah, the more, the merrier. But what I really was going to talk about, and we get sidetracked a lot, so sorry. But, that's just how it is.
We're just not linear thinkers, okay?
No, I'm not at all. And I'm really trying to finish my sentences and not start mid-sentence with another thought, because that's what I do a lot. So trying to work on that. So back to Lindsay. She's an environmental educator, and she talked about the effects of plastic. She was living in the Bahamas, and she could see it firsthand how much of that ends up in the ocean and what it does to the wildlife. So go back and listen to the episode.
Do you know the number of the episode?
No, but
okay.
it's in 97
maybe?
Or
97 or 98 maybe. Yeah,
something like
that.
that.
I think it's 97. I'm almost positive. And it's called Zero Waste Shampoo.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what it's called.
Okay, yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
So, do we have any more shout-outs?
Oh, we have lots more shout-outs.
Okay.
So, this one is from Debbie, and her Instagram handle is Debbie E. Madian. And you know what? If I mispronounce your name or anything, I'm sorry. I'm just, that's something I do frequently.
We all do, don't we?
Yeah, but I'm really good at it. I'm a master. So she says, reserve the cooking water when steaming or cooking vegetables to make stock and avoid unnecessarily packaged stock or stock cubes. And it takes it further. A lot of people maybe even freeze their cuttings of veggies, and then when you have enough, you can make a stock. Or if you're a meat eater, if you have a chicken or whatever, you can use the bones. And
that has become honestly a big part of how I do things here now. I went on this diet a few years ago that was really big on bone broth and fermented foods. And so now basically when I get an organic chicken, I roast it, and then I keep the bones. I might even throw them in the freezer for a while until I can get to it. But then I throw it all in a stock pot with some onions, celery, chopped up onions, celery, and carrots. and I bring it to a boil, let it simmer overnight for like 12 hours, and I get that wonderful bone broth that is so nourishing and actually heals your gut. You know, I think I've cured my eczema because of regular eating of the bone broth. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
All right. Thank you. Another tip, a Janice tip. Yay.
Yeah. Huge. I mean, you get all these meals out of that one chicken. You know, again, it's just, you know, making the most of what you have. So I love that.
Yeah, and by the time those bones are cooked over and over and over again, or for a long time, because you basically cook those until they fall apart, and then it's easy to grind them up and use them as a fertilizer too. You know, there's a little bit left.
I didn't know that.
Gosh,
another tip. So how do you grind them up?
I have like a Vitamix blender.
Oh,
yeah, but you want to make sure they're really soft,
those things are so soft that they're they're not crunchy at all. So I wonder if I could even do that in a blender.
Probably.
I'll give it a try.
Why not? Why not?
And you could use it as like for your compost or...
That's what I do. I usually store it into compost. And if you're worried about, attracting rodents or something like that, then I do have some worm boxes which are enclosed, so nothing can go in there. That's usually where I put it. And then also I'm super excited. I'm always super excited. I'm just not excited. I'm super excited. But I... in contact with a person. His name is Ron, and I probably will pronounce his last name wrong, but he is on Instagram as Feed the Soil. And we met a long time ago through my garden club. He is the master of bokashi composting. Oh. And on my birthday, he sent me a message saying, "Hey, I have a bokashi system waiting for you." So wait for an episode coming soon all about bokashi,
very cool.
Composting. And with that one, you can even compost bones, which are fresh and everything. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing.
I had a bokashi thing once a long time ago, but I don't think I really used it that well. So I'll be curious to hear your tips and all about it.
Yeah, definitely. So Janice, now, okay, so you also probably hear a little bit of wind in the sound. So we're actually up here in Big Bear in California, and it's beautiful outside. So if I look out in front of me, it's mountains.
You can kind of see the reflection in Mariana's glasses there.
Oh yeah. So you guys come on over to YouTube later after you listen to this and see the reflections of the mountains in my glasses. But we are actually I'm going to take a bunch of photos to put on Instagram, and we already have some on Facebook, so you can see them. It's really beautiful up here, and I always like the mountains, but I wouldn't want to live in the mountains because I get cold really easy, so winters would be not good for me.
But I love the winter. I love all of it. I love it. I never thought I would be able to handle the cold, but it turns out it was a change of life. All of a sudden I was running so hot that being in the cold didn't bother me so much anymore. So yeah, I love it. But it presents so many challenges when it comes to homesteading, or particularly with growing food. I have a very short growing season. I really just got my plants into their beds, and I had to start them all as seedlings like 2 months ago. So that's because our growing season generally, they say up here that the only thing you can really count on is after Father's Day and before Labor Day, and which is like not even 3 months, I don't think, a full 3 months, that you're not going to get frost. However, last year I got a frost right in the middle of August. So it just totally put the kibosh on any squashes that I had growing. And so now at some point I'll show you guys on Instagram what my setup is now until I can get a full greenhouse, which is in the plan. I want to get a aquaponics system with a greenhouse. But at this point, I have my own makeshift greenhouses on the beds that have the most vulnerable plants. So I have like hoop houses over them, and then a bit kind of bisqueen over that helps, but that still won't completely protect them if there's a full-on frost. So I have mini greenhouses that are portable that I've put inside of those. So hopefully I will be able to keep most of my vegetables this year.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Veggies, fresh veggies are good.
Yep.
And it's definitely a good place to expand into greenhouses and indoor growing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so earlier we had a conversation about reducing waste and how becoming less global and more local is a really important part of doing that. Mm-hmm. Because we're following several people which are into reducing waste. And of course, one of our purposes or one of our goals is to have the least amount of waste possible. And while we're here, I know Stephanie is watching us. So
hi, Stephanie.
I want to give a shout out to Stephanie McCoy because she is a zero waste warrior in her own rights. So she works for a company which makes sauerkraut and which makes kimchi and stuff like that. And a lot of said waste, the outer leaves, if you have ever made your own kraut, that you have to remove the outer leaves of the cabbage. So there is a lot of green waste and that was going in the trash. So she by herself, and she's not a huge person. She takes those heavy bags and loads them into her car and then drops them off with different people. And I'm one of them. And then I have a little system where I call all my friends which have chickens. Actually, I just text them and say, hey, there's cabbage out front. But Stephanie has single-handedly diverted so much waste from the landfill.
Wow.
Sometimes she comes with 7, 8, 9 huge trash cans filled with cabbage left over. And so it really shows how one person can make such a big difference in reducing waste.
Yeah, that's huge. Huge.
But to come back to being more local, if you don't have to ship your produce halfway around the world, then you don't have to package it that much.
Right. And you also don't have to use a lot of fossil fuels that contribute to all kinds of not good things.
Right. So one of my arguments was, well, it's easy for us in California to say, let's eat local because just about everything under the sun can be grown here. Mm-hmm. And not so easy if you live in an area which very limited growing conditions where maybe all you can grow is cabbage and potatoes and then that's what you get to eat your whole life. And so Janice made the point, but our technology is so advanced now is that we can do indoor growing systems.
Yeah, we have. All you have to do is look on Facebook or Pinterest or just anywhere and you'll see people posting all kinds of different ways that you can do indoor growing. You've got aquaponics, you have hydroponics. There's just all kinds of things that people are doing. The thing is, they have not been really vastly implemented on any kind of an industrial scale. But they work so well for small places. And that is how really we can get to a more local kind of growing system, and which will be much more economically resilient for all of us in the long run anyway. So, and a lot of people talk about the changing crazy weather that we're having, we don't really know what's going to happen in the future and how difficult it's going to be on industrial agriculture. So why not, kind of make that move towards kind of creating those systems that are in using these new technologies, which honestly I think permaculture would fall into as well.
Absolutely.
The information is out there. The ways to do this is out there. We just have to start implementing it.
Yeah, so there are some experiments where fairly big farms are using aquaponics and different systems. So it's out there, but the bulk of our food is not grown that way. The bulk of our food, sadly, is not even grown organically, and even a lot of the organic farmers don't necessarily apply methods which are building soil and protecting the groundwater and all of that stuff. But that's a whole podcast in itself.
Well, and again, I just think if we really just focus on more local, smaller, many more local, smaller growers, we'll all be better served. We can implement these technologies more easily. And if, something goes wrong with one person's system or whatever, there's always a lot of other people that can fill in the gap.
Absolutely. So just since we're in the whole shout out mode, right? Trisha Pilkington had given that tip in our Facebook group. So when we were asking what can we do to reduce waste and so forth, she was saying aquaponics, fish and food, yay.
And just in case there's somebody out there that doesn't know what aquaponics is, there's a system. It's a system basically where you're using fish that are providing fertilizer for plants that you are growing indoors, basically, right? Have I missed anything else there?
Yeah.
So you're growing the fish that you can eat for protein, and you're also growing vegetables that you can eat. And if you're in an indoor area, then you are more insulated from weather conditions like I have up here in Big Bear.
Yeah, and then the water is getting recycled. So basically, the water, the fish are providing the fertilizer, the plants are cleaning it from too much ammonia, and then it's more or less a closed system, so you don't have that much evaporation.
Right.
But I'm not an expert, and it's something on my list for later too. I have a lot of friends which are doing aquaponics, and all of them said in the beginning you have to experiment and you probably kill a bunch of stuff, and my plate is too full as it is. So to take on a new project would be kind of like me, but I'm trying to change that and not take on 500 times more than I can handle.
Yeah,
just 200 times more.
She can handle a lot more than I can, I'll tell you. But I do plan to get an aquaponics system set up here. So when I do, I will share all of that with you guys.
Sounds good. Which, this whole point of taking on more than you can handle brings me a tip from one of our very frequent contributor in the Sustainable Living Tips, Tools and Tactics Facebook group, and her name is Karen Weiser.
Yes, Karen Weiser.
Yeah. So my tip is for personal sustainability, and is to notice everything in your environment and how it affects your energy. Things that you're tolerating, the stuff that bothers you, steals energy from you. So it's best to clear it up, clean it up, and get it done.
Oh, what a great tip.
I know.
Wow. I mean, you could take that on so many levels, from people in your life that might be energy vampires to the way your house is set up, which can also be, if you've got too much clutter, that can kind of sap your energy a little bit. Any other ways that you can think of?
Yeah, I mean, all of those things is having too many to-do lists in your head, having... you already talked about energy vampires, and I think that's huge. And if you're not familiar with the name energy vampires, that are people which are creating drama in your life which is not necessary, and then you end up spending mental, physical energy and maybe time to deal with that. And as hard as it is, sometimes it's better to say goodbye to, those kind of people.
Yeah, you can love them and forgive them, but you can also keep away from them at the same time. It's a detachment with love.
Right. And then the other part is, and we have talked about it a lot, and that's another thing we have in common, is that we're both yoga teachers. And Janice is a really good sitting meditator. I'm not so much. For me, meditation is more in a moving way, and really meditation just means concentrating on one thing, that you are in the now, in the moment, and have a still mind.
And becoming aware of your thoughts. I mean, for me, that's the biggest thing. Just when thoughts come in, you notice them, and you take note, so that your thoughts aren't running you. You start to become in control of your thoughts. I found that over time doing that, just taking notice during meditation of my thoughts, that it started to bleed into my regular life. And so when I would be triggered by someone, I had that space in there, that observer in there that had been developed and nurtured from meditation, that allowed me to go, hey, how do I want to respond to this? How do I want to react to this? How do I want to think about this, instead of just, going into full anger and rage mode and just, reacting to people. So that's one of the big benefits for me of meditation.
So, in other words, in our mind, sustainability kind of starts with the self. And that's why you probably noticed that some of our episodes have been going more around managing life and talking about that aspect. Like we had one on laughter yoga and on how to deal with depression. And so first off, I think a lot of us, when we think sustainability, we think about water shortages and food and, and all of those things are super important. Mm-hmm. Not as super important. But really, how we show up in the world is important, which goes right into building community. And we can only build community if we can deal with, all kinds of different people, and then dealing with people, even so we just say, cut some people out of your life. That's extreme. Yeah. And maybe cutting them out of your mental energy going around it, because as Janice is saying, if we are bringing love towards an acceptance towards a person, that can change the whole interaction
exactly.
around.
I remember I had a person like that in my life years ago when I was involved in an organization, and this person did not like me. And what? Somebody couldn't like me? What's that about? That could never happen. But I got into this routine in my meditation. Part of my meditation would always be, forgiving that person and imagining wonderful things for that person in their life. Imagining that they, had everything they wanted. I know it sounds very weird and counterintuitive, but because I did that, it allowed me to let go of this anger and frustration and rage that I had about the things that she was doing, So that's one tip. That's for me. That's one very big tip about cleaning up the energy in your life, And as Mariana was saying, to do all of these things, sustainability, it takes energy, and it has to start with us. If we don't have our own energy in balance and cleaned up, if we're not working on our own stuff, that whatever it is that's triggering us, it's very difficult to even think to about the earth and what am I doing here, and it's very hard to do that.
So pretty soon we're going to lose our phone.
our video feed is going to die soon.
And actually, this is a good time to maybe talk about what did you learn in those 2 years of us podcasting together?
Oh, gosh. There's so much. First off, I want to give us both a big, huge pat on the back because, we had to surmount many obstacles to do this. Mariana lives in San Diego. I live in Big Bear. We both have busy lives. Mariana she's got so much going on down there with her rare fruit growers thing and her amazing backyard. And I'm a social media marketer, and we just had to find the time to do this, and we had to coordinate it, because most podcasters don't do this, right? They live in different places but co-host together. So I learned that amazing things can happen when you just don't focus on the obstacles, and you just focus on what you want to do. And even if you don't understand or know how to do it, you'll find a way, right? So that's one big thing I learned. How about you?
Well, I learned that you don't have to be perfect to begin with, mm-hmm. That you can learn a lot of things. I think, so my takeaway is that I have met so many amazing people through the podcast. Mm-hmm. So when we first started out, our intention was just the two of us talking together. And somehow we got into, there is this other interesting person, let's interview him. And so in the beginning, we tried to be both on the interview, and that turned out to be a little bit difficult, especially since we have been interviewing people basically from all over the world, and believe it or not, we have a lot of listeners in Australia, which I think is super exciting. Should I say it?
Yeah, it is. And one of the things I found is people that we wouldn't have thought are listening are listening. I think one of our biggest audiences is guys that are between like 20 and 30. So yay, you guys rock. You're so smart.
To listening to us old ladies.
Thank you. But we love you. And if you notice, actually, we've had a lot of guys between 20 and 30 as guests on our podcast. So that may be part of that.
Yeah, obviously.
We love them because they're so brilliant and they're thinking of new ideas and new systems that are going to save us,
Well, and really, I mean, we are all at different stages in our life, obviously. But if it's just, we are not old. So let's say, what are we, middle-aged people?
I don't know. That depends on if you believe that we're going to be living till 1,000 soon. So.
Okay, yeah. So let's go with that. Then we're very young.
We're just babies.
Yeah, but I think this is one of my big things. I always felt it very sad if we are so much dividing into generational groups, that all kids need to be together, all teens need to be together. I feel there is so much more to be learned if we can learn all from each other.
Absolutely.
And recognize, for example, Janice mentions the rare food growers I'm involved in. A lot of the members are in their 80s now, and they're not able to do a lot of physical digging holes and planting trees anymore, but they have such an incredible amount of knowledge to share. So just to keep all of that alive and going. And so it's the same with sustainability, because one of the things, I grew up in Germany, which was, I was born, 12 years after the war, which the war in Europe, it's the Second World War, and so many freaking wars have started since and been fought since. But still, so it was still in the aftermath of that. And for example, we were talking about packaging earlier. And when I was a kid, we would get potatoes delivered in the fall for the whole winter. And the farmer would come, and those potatoes are in baskets. And then they get dumped into a bin in our basement. And the baskets go home with the farmer. But now it's almost impossible to find potatoes which are not in a plastic bag. You basically have to grow them yourself. And so the point is, there is this kind of memory available through different generations to know it's possible. And one of the big things in our philosophy is, if you can think it's possible, you can find a way to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Envisioning it is so helpful. And when you have people that actually lived in times that are unlike the times that we have now, they can help you to envision it. It's been fascinating to me, honestly, Mariana, hearing your stories about growing up in Germany during those times, and how, like what we really kind of all want to do, it was then, in a sense, as far as sustainability goes. You just didn't have a choice, right? When you went to the grocery store, you had to bring your bag. They didn't have them, right? And there were a whole lot of other things that Mariana grew up with that we're now just kind of rediscovering here in the States anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's one takeaway. We have talked to so many interesting people. And I think we also have found that we are a little bit interested in different aspects of this all. Like, Janice, what are you mostly fascinated
if you guys haven't guessed by now, I love to talk about new systems and new ideas that people are coming up with about how we can do things differently in the world. We have a new visitor here on the couch, my other dog, Lucy. But yeah, because the system that we have is so toxic on so many levels. So I love to get people on the podcast to talk about new ways that we can envision. And, maybe not all of them are viable, but they all get us thinking about how the world could be instead of just complaining about how the world is.
Absolutely. Complaining is just such a
waste of time and not helpful, because honestly, what you focus on is what you create. So if you want more of something, keep complaining about it.
There you go. Good tip. No, bad tip. Do not complain.
So how about you? Let's hear what you.
So I think I'm very attracted to people which are more also hands-on people. So talking about like the permaculture people and stuff like that. And I have also been more drawn lately to people which have a personal survival story. Like I talked to Big D about depression, and I was trying not to say, so it's a whole thing, and I just blew it.
It's okay. We talk the way we talk in conversation, so go ahead.
So he has dealt with depression all his life, and now he is going blind, and still he is out there helping other people to deal with it. And that's just really fascinating to me, how people can take their own personal challenges and turning them into an opportunity to help others with the same challenges. And we were talking about how depression is just, we meaning now Janice and I, is such a huge topic in our world right now, for so many different reasons.
Well, yeah, I mean, the situations that we are all having to live under, it's like a pressure cooker out there, you guys. I'm sure you're all feeling it with the news and what have you. It's unlike any other time, I think, in history right now. So again, that sustainability of your own peace of mind, of your own safety and security in your own life is so essential. So yeah, with depression, huge. Everybody gets depressed about it. And I know it's something I fought a lot in my life, depression. And it's been through my whole family. So we do a lot of things, like I do a lot of yoga and the meditation, as we mentioned. But I think if I could give you one sustainability tip, that would be it. Take care of your mental health. Take care of yourself,
Yeah, that's kind of where it all starts. So I think that's where we can share a really good tip from Cheryl. Okay. And you know her last name.
Cheryl Vaught. I love her. Cheryl was, I just want to say before Cheryl, I met her in La Leche League, and she became a midwife while I knew her. And while she was in training, the midwife that I had used for the home birth of my son was her mentor, and she was there for the birth of my son, and she actually caught my son as he came out. So yay, Cheryl. And I love her. She's just so brilliant. Anyway, you should also check her Facebook page. I think it's Ask the Midwife if you're interested in natural birth. So anyway.
Another thing we have in common, we had our babies at home.
Yes.
But here's her tip. Okay. Or she says, my motto is KISS. Keep it simple and smile. I think that's a fantastic motto.
Yes, definitely.
Great tip, Cheryl.
Brilliant. The more simple you make it, the easier it is on you, and usually the planet too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And kind of right in there's another tip. This one is from Robin. Jared, like that.
Yeah, hi there, Robin. He's a good friend of mine too, but I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Gerde, maybe it sounds Scandinavian. I think maybe. Anyway.
Okay, and so this is from Facebook too, and he's saying use more home remedies when possible for health and stop using chemicals. All those chemicals we have in our kitchen and bathroom and laundry room and garage are no good for people and the environment. And he's saying you can replace almost everything with hydrogen peroxide or other natural products. So I know I do a lot of cleaning with essential oils, and here is, I think this is true for both of us. We are not in love with cleaning. It's just, some people really love it. Yep. For us, it's more, okay, it needs to be done. Yep. So like my bathroom, I use a lot of essential oils, so at least it smells good. It's clean. I'm not saying I'm covering.
No.
But it makes it... For me, it makes me happy when I smell essential oils. I have my cabinet where I keep them all in, and when I open it and just take a sniff, it's like, oh yeah, I feel better.
Yeah.
So if I have to do the trudging, cleaning chores, if I can, have a nice smelling essential oils, it makes it so much easier
That's
and
good.
better.
And vinegar is great too. And baking soda is wonderful. My husband actually, we had this clogged drain in our shower. He used vinegar and baking soda. He tried a lot of different things, but the thing that worked the best was vinegar and baking soda. So yeah, I mean, there's so many natural ways that you can approach these things without these horrible toxic chemicals.
Right. Yeah, I use the vinegar and baking soda for the toilet, but the rest of my outlets or water outlets are connected to gray water system feeding the plants, so I can't really use that much vinegar and baking soda because it's salt and it would eventually kill the plants. But the essential oils are fine.
But here she skips over a sustainable living tip that she does every day, and that is she has a gray water system that recycles her water, which is a very, very big deal.
In the desert. I mean, we basically live in a semi-desert. I'm fully aware there are areas where it rains every day and you don't have to worry about water. So, but for us living in very dry areas in semi-desert, using every drop of water more than once is really an important thing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing that you do there.
So, now we shared with you what we learned. Well, I learned that I can master technology. And I also learned that I'm not the only one who is an idiot about it. And I'm not saying, other people are idiots, but I always was feeling, why can't I understand that? Yeah. But it turns out not everybody gets everything right away, and that a lot of programs are just not as easy as they pretend they are.
Yeah. So take that tip to heart, guys. Anybody that's trying to master any kind of stuff, maybe apps or technology on the computer, it's trial and error and it's patience. And everybody goes through it. Don't feel stupid just because you can't figure something out. Some apps are very intuitive and some are not, right?
Yeah. So that's definitely one thing I learned. And I also learned if you try enough and click enough buttons,
yes,
you figure it out in the end. But where are we going from here, Janice? What is our plan?
Okay, so here's what and you guys can tell us if you think this is a good plan. We'd love to get your feedback on it. But we feel like one of the things we love to do is these kinds of podcasts where we're together, right? And of course, we can't do it like this all the time. I would love it if we could, but we will do as many of these as we can. But just having those podcasts where Mariana and I are talking about issues or about shout outs or about, often I'm asking Mariana for advice on my homesteading stuff. I think I would like to do more of those, and maybe cut down a tad on the interviews. And so if you guys, I'd love to hear your feedback on that, what you think about that. What do you think, Mariana?
So, I think this is we want to. First of all, I think we already have an amazing group of people which is interacting and which is being part of the podcast. But we would love to expand it more and get more of your guys' input, what you want to hear, what you want to see, and maybe even have more live interactions. And so actually we were... this is our podcasting summit here. So we were looking at a lot of different things. And one of them was looking at, which episodes really spoke to people. And we noticed that we had a zero waste episode we did a long time ago when another now defunct platform was still alive, which was called Plab. And on Plab, you were able to be on live and have several people interacting together. And so we had a friend of ours on.
Brad?
Roland.
Brad Roland. Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, and he's in Colorado, and we ended up not doing any more of the shows with technical difficulties. We just couldn't get on together. So I think one of the things is that we would like to revive this kind of interaction where we maybe have 4 or 5 people together, and we are just I think I didn't explain that. What we did in the Plub discussions was to take different themes or things which are going on in the world and just do an hour of dreaming.
Yes.
What could we do? What can we envision? What would the world look like?
Yeah.
So we did that about zero waste. We did another one on what if nobody would be hungry in the world?
Yep.
You know, what would that mean? So I think we would like to do a little bit more dreaming sessions. So let us know what you think about that.
Yeah. Looks like Stephanie likes that idea.
Okay.
I love that idea. I love it because, again, it's very difficult to create that new and better world that we all want unless we can envision it in our minds. And so that's really been kind of part of our mission here on the podcast. So I'm glad, I hope that you guys will agree. Maybe we can do it on Google Hangouts, I think.
Yeah. Or if you know of some platform, you know, if some of you are way more tech savvy than we are and you know what would be a good tool to use, let us know. And you can reach us many different ways. So you can email us at sustainablelivingpodcast@gmail.com. You can email Janice directly at janice@sustainablelivingpodcast.com. Then we are on, so the places we are mostly hanging out and are responsive are probably Facebook and Instagram, which we are under Sustainable Living Podcast. And then we have the Facebook group, the Tips, Tools, and Tactics, which that group is a closed group, so you have to ask to be admitted. And we do keep it free of trolls. So
no trolls, no divas, no
drama,
no negative energy. You know, like we tried it, like we're trying to keep it sustainable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so all of those places you could reach us, and we would love to hear from you. What you like, what you don't like, you know, all of those things. So we are very open to feedback, and we definitely. This was kind of something we were thinking about in the beginning a lot, and we love to feature our listeners. And several of people we interviewed were our listeners who send us an email saying, hey, you know, we're listening to your show and we would love to talk about this. So we had Colleen on. She is moving, or was at the time when we had the interview. She had a 10-year-old daughter and she was pregnant and she was preparing to get a tiny house built. And now she has moved there. So, for example, in another few months, she is going to come back on, both with her daughter, to talk about that experience, what it means to actually live in a tiny house and make the transition. But she was one of our listeners and hopefully still is one of our listeners.
Yeah. We also had Vicki Hightower, who was talking about living without an income. Which I love. Get yourself out of the matrix and the rat race. And then Michael E.V. Knight. Oh my God. I cannot not mention that guy. What an interesting guy. I met him on Facebook and we did a great interview. I can't remember the name of the podcast. I'll put a link in the show notes to that Michael E.V. Knight interview. But he introduced me to so many people that I ended up interviewing. And again, it was a lot about new systems, new economies, new ideas, new ways that we could take the world into a different place that's much more positive.
Yeah. So basically, our new goal is to hear from you.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah. And if we're going to do interviews, I'd always love to interview our listeners first. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I want this to be, or I'm just going to speak for both of us. We want this to be us in terms of Janice and I and you, the listeners. We are creating this together. And so we love all your input. We love, everything you do. And why don't we end it with one more shout out to a listener and then we're good for today.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah,
I think that's good. Yeah.
So this is Sherry Minnelli, who was on a very recent podcast about food swaps, and definitely a theme we are both very excited about.
Yes.
And you guess what? We talked about technical difficulties, right? So we were saying we are going to have a checklist for all of you can find. And so I got this beautiful program which says it's very easy to make a checklist. And what happened, Janice?
It wasn't intuitive.
And it wasn't easy.
No, it was not.
We haven't figured it out yet.
No, so we may have to go to a different program. But basically, keep an eye out for that food swap checklist. Mariana and I, but mostly Mariana, are putting together a guide for you all so that if you want to create a food swap in your area, it will help you. And we just feel very strongly that this is the kind of thing that's going to get us through difficult times if we all connect with our neighbors and we find ways to create these micro economies that are insulated from hard times within the bigger economy.
So, I think what we're going to do is we're going to post a blog post about it. And then we figure out the checklist, which makes it easy to just go boom, boom, boom. And then we have that available for you as soon as we have figured out the tech. But the blog post is going up maybe tomorrow or when I come home. So at least you have that if you are really excited about starting the food swap, and then we figure out our part. And it's not going to be 2 years like the emails, I promise.
Yeah, we're getting going here. So don't expect to hear more from us, and we certainly want to hear more from you.
Yeah, so let's really quickly share Sherry's tip. And she has come into the Facebook group and has been active there. And thank you so much, Sherry, for that. So she's saying soap nuts. So soap nuts is from a tree, and you can use that to wash your laundry with. So there is no salts involved in all of that. And she shared a link where to get them. It's a tree which grows in India. And I was introduced to that a long time ago when I was in Germany, and then I kind of forgot about it. And I'm very excited about it again. So I'm definitely going to find out more about it, and we probably do a little session on that and have a blog post on how to do that. Yeah. So thank you, Sherry, for sharing this.
Yeah, great tip, Sherry. Definitely. I've been using soap nuts, and it's a wonderful option. It's wonderful for so many reasons, but definitely from a sustainability reason. Think about it. I mean, you have no packaging. There's not a lot of toxins in it. It comes from a tree, Yeah,
and then you can compost it when you're done.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think this is what we have to say for today. We would love for you to, where you find the podcast, it's not called iTunes anymore. It's called Apple Podcast app.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They changed the name on it. And then, there are other... If you don't have an Apple product, there's Stitcher and other apps where you can find the podcast. So I wanted to ask all of you a favor. Obviously, you know how to listen to a podcast since you're listening to it. But if you have a friend who doesn't and you think they're interested in this material, show them how to download a podcast, on the phone or on even their desktop. Some people listen from, their computer. Most people listen from their phone this day and age, And while you're at it, showing them, why don't you leave us a rating and review?
Yay, yeah, that would be awesome. We would love you.
Yeah. And keep those tips coming, and you definitely will hear more shout outs to our community from us, because that is one of the priorities we have been setting, to get your names out there and to thank you for all you do.
Yeah, you guys are doing so much to help the planet, and that's a very big thing. We want to support you in every way that we possibly can, because believe me, well, you all know it's very much needed right now.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Oh, take care, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on the Sustainable Living Podcast. For more sustainable living tips, join our Facebook group, Sustainable Living Tips, Tools, and Tactics, and follow us on Twitter